Picture yourself stepping into an ancient amphitheater at dawn. The stone seats are empty, the air is still, and a solitary torch flickers on a pedestal at center stage. In that moment of silence, before the crowds pour in, you experience the pure potential of sound, the possibility of a masterpiece waiting to arise. That amphitheater is your mind. The audience is the world, brimming with interruptions. The endless ping of notifications, the restless chatter of your own inner critic, the siren song of unfinished tasks. Yet within that sacred space, you hold the conductor's baton. Not long ago, I found myself in that exact amphitheater. It was a crisp Monday morning, and I was staring at my reflection in a bathroom mirror that felt more like a carnival hall of echoes. Emails clamored for attention. My to-do list glared in red ink, and the headline on my phone screamed about the latest crisis somewhere across the globe. My breath hitched, my heart drummed, and I realized that I had become a spectator of my own anxiety. In that breathless instant, I remembered the words of Epictetus. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. With that ancient wisdom ringing in my ears, I pressed my palms to the cold porcelain sink and took a deliberate inhale. The world didn't change, but I did. I exhaled, and the amphitheater grew still. Silencing the noise doesn't require a monastery retreat or a silicon-coated mind shield. It begins with simple, immediate choices. Where you place your attention, how you tether your intention, and what small rituals you enact to anchor your awareness. This isn't a passive surrender, it's an active design. As Steve Jobs reminded us, innovation distinguishes between a leader and a follower. When you innovate your inner terrain, you take the lead in your life's narrative. Let's explore the power of intention. I once met a carpenter named Luis who carved exquisite wooden toys for children. His workshop was a humble shed with sun-bleached boards, but he insisted on beginning every morning with one question. Today, what joy will I build? He wrote that question on a scrap of parchment and nailed it above his workbench. It wasn't a motivational slogan, it was a compass needle. On days when his hands trembled with exhaustion, he'd glance up, read the question, and remember that his true craft was not merely shaping wood, but igniting wonder in a child's heart. In that simple act, nailing words to wood, he turned chaos into clarity. Your mind, too, benefits from a North Star. Write your intention on a sticky note, engrave it in your heart, whisper it to yourself as you close your eyes. Let it guide every choice. Yet intention by itself can wander, like a kite without a string. That's where ritual enters. Those deliberate acts that ferry you back to presence. Imagine a lighthouse keeper on a rocky shore. Long before the first ship appears, he climbs the tower, checks the mechanism, polishes the lantern's lens until it refracts the dawn like 1,000 rainbows. His ritual ensures that when storm clouds gather, the beam cuts through the fog. We are our own lighthouse keepers. Maybe your ritual is a 5-minute stretch by the window, arms outstretched toward the waking sky. Perhaps it's a 2-slide scroll through your favorite poem before opening your inbox. It could be as simple as rolling your shoulders back and whispering, "I am here." These rituals, practiced daily, become the scaffolding of focus. They shape the space in which intention thrives. In a small village in the Andes, I met Marta, a schoolteacher who faced the daily cacophony of children's laughter, distant music, and roadside vendors. She taught me a practice she called listening circles. At midday, her students formed a circle and closed their eyes. She struck a hollow gourd with a soft mallet, producing a deep resonant tone that vibrated through their chests. For a full minute, they listened, not to identify the sound, but simply to receive it. Over time, the children learned to settle their minds, to notice the silence that lay just beneath the surface of noise. Marta told me, "When you know silence, you know yourself. That resonance is available to you too." find your gourd. Perhaps a few moments of stillness, a brief walk without a phone, a steady breath, and let the vibration of calm guide you. What about those moments when the mind feels overrun? When anxiety or regret stomp through like unruly guests? Viktor Frankl, who endured unspeakable horrors yet emerged with compassion and purpose, taught that between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies our power to choose our response. That space may be as brief as the pause between your inhale and your exhale, but it's enough. When panic rises, feel your feet on the ground. Notice the pressure of the chair beneath you. Lengthen your spine. In that corporeal anchoring, the noise dims and a new channel opens, the channel of choice. You reclaim authorship of your experience. Let me share a little story from my own journey. A few years back, I was invited to speak at a bustling conference center in Tokyo. The energy backstage was electric. Producers shouting cues, videographers adjusting lights, translators whispering in my ear. My head spun. My heart pounded. I could almost hear my thoughts whirling like a washing machine. Moments before stepping onto the stage, I slipped into a small side room, closed the door, and put my hand on my heart. I spoke softly to myself. I am here to serve. My words can light a spark. Then, I remembered the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. I stood up straight, shook out my limbs, and walked onto the stage not as a frantic performer, but as a calm conductor ready to orchestrate connection. The audience didn't see my backstage storm. They felt only my resonance. Analogies are bridges between the known and unknown. Picture your thoughts as leaves drifting on a river. You remain on the riverbank, observing each leaf's journey. Some leaves swirl, some drift straight, some vanish around a bend. You don't chase them. You simply see them, name them. There goes the to-do list leaf. There floats the worry about tomorrow. And let them pass. That gentle watching is mindfulness in action and the gateway to clarity. Still, we live in a world engineered to capture attention. A friend of mine, Elena, decided to fight back with what she called focus zones. She designated separate parts of her day for specific tasks. Mornings for deep work, afternoons for calls, evenings for creativity and rest. During each zone, she eliminated all other stimuli. No dinging emails, no social media scrolls. She even wore noise-canceling headphones when writing. Over time, her mind adapted. Like a muscle, it grew stronger at resisting distraction. By Queen's University research standards, this technique is supported by studies showing that time blocking increases productivity and reduces stress. And yet the simplest validation for Elena was her own experience. She felt more engaged, less frenzied, and remarkably clear. What about fear of missing out? The dreaded FOMO. It whispers in our ear. What if you miss a message, a trend, an opportunity? To that, I offer a counter. You're already missing 100 things you don't need. Each notification we ignore is a gift, a tiny slice of attention reclaimed. At the end of his life, Henry David Thoreau retreated to Walden Pond seeking depth over speed. He wrote, "Our life is frittered away by detail, simplify, simplify. We can simplify without living in a cabin. We can simplify our mental diet. Choose the handful of inputs that matter most, and let the rest pass like background static." We've explored intention, ritual, embodiment, observation, and structure. Now let's talk about play. Yes, play is a secret ally in focus. When you engage in playful activities, doodling, improvising on an instrument, inventing silly stories, you activate the brain's default mode network, which paradoxically boosts problem-solving and creativity. My friend Jamal loves sand sculptures. He builds tiny castles on the beach, watching the tide reclaim them. He says it's a reminder that creation and destruction coexist. and that sometimes the act of creation, not the permanence of the result, is what matters. In play, you learn flexibility, curiosity, and joy, qualities that sharpen your capacity to discern signal from noise. At this point, you may wonder, with so many techniques, how do I choose? The answer is simple. Start small. Pick one intention, one ritual, one micro-practice. Test it for a week. Notice how your mind responds. Tinker, refine, build momentum. As William James, the father of American psychology, once said, "The greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another. Choose wisely." Before I pause, let me share one last jewel from Maya Angelou. You may not control all the events that happen to you, but you can decide not to be reduced by them. Hold that phrase like a talisman. When the walls of distraction close in, whisper it. Each time you do, you expand the space between stimulus and response. You reclaim authorship. You conduct your inner orchestra. And now, friend, feel the torchlight flicker at the center of your amphitheater. Feel the hush before the symphony. You have the tools, intention, ritual, awareness, structure, play, to transform static into music. Breathe deeply, stand tall, and remember, you are the conductor of your mind. The world may demand your attention, but you decide where to shine your light. As the sun climbs higher, its rays cut through morning mist, revealing every detail of the landscape. In the same way, clarity can illuminate hidden pathways within your mind, guiding you toward breakthroughs you never imagined. But sustaining that clarity when life's demands press in, from tight deadlines to emotional upheavals, requires more than a single ritual. It calls for resilience built on purpose, presence, and practice. Imagine a tightrope walker suspended between two skyscrapers. Below, the city buzzes, horns blaring, crowds murmuring, wind gusting unpredictable currents. At each step, the walker must balance, eyes fixed on the far edge, heart steady. His secret isn't a static calm, but a dynamic one. Micro-adjustments with every movement. When a sudden breeze strikes, he shifts his weight. When the wire quivers, he engages his core. In life, your wire is every moment that demands your full attention. A pivotal conversation, a crucial presentation, or simply the choice to stay present with a loved one. The wind and the roar are inevitable. Your task is to cultivate the inner micro-adjustments that keep you upright. Let's start with purpose. When pressure mounts, ask yourself, what is the higher goal behind this task? A CEO I coached once found herself drowning in spreadsheets. With a family member in the hospital, she questioned every minute spent crunching numbers. I invited her to reconnect with her why. Providing stability so she could support her team and her loved ones. She taped a photograph of her family beside her monitor. Every time her gaze soared toward the cells of data, it returned to those smiling faces. That moment of reconnection, a simple anchor, gave her permission to re-engage with her work from a place of love instead of obligation. Purpose fuels perseverance. Presence is your next pillar. Presence means inhabiting the exact moment you're in, no matter how mundane or chaotic. The legendary cellist Pablo Casals practiced presence by isolating the tiniest gestures. The angle of his wrist, the pressure of the bow, the space between heartbeats. He once said, "The cello is not a thing that you play. It is a thing that you listen to." To truly listen, he had to be utterly present. You too can practice presence in everyday tasks. Savor the texture of your pen's ink. Notice the subtle hum of your computer. Feel the temperature of your coffee cup. These small acts of attention train your brain to anchor itself amid distraction. Practice is the third pillar. And here's where cumulative magic happens. Consider the habit of journaling, not just as a to-do list, but as a focus amplifier. Every evening, spend 5 minutes writing down the moments when you felt most clear. Describe what you were doing, how your body felt, and what thought guided you. Over weeks, you'll identify a pattern. Perhaps your clarity peaks after a walk in nature, or when you listen to a particular piece of music, or when you begin with a gratitude breath. That pattern becomes intel, a map of what sustains your focus. Then you can design your days around those high-clarity moments, stacking your most important tasks when your brain is primed. Weaving focus into relationships adds another dimension. How often do we listen to respond, rather than to understand? In conversations, bring intentional listening. Picture two concentric circles. The inner one is your own thoughts. The outer one is the speaker's voice. Many of us live inside the inner circle, reacting to ideas before we even hear them. Instead, try leaning into the outer circle. Notice the cadence, the pauses, the subtle shifts in tone. When you respond from that space of full receptivity, your answers carry weight and your connections deepen. As the poet Rumi wrote, "Raise your words, not your voice. It is rain that grows flowers, not thunder." Turning silence into generative power means embracing stillness not as emptiness, but as fertile ground. Think of a blacksmith forging steel. After each hammer blow, he cools the metal, allowing the structure to strengthen. Then he hammers again. In your mind, moments of silence, breath practices, mindful pauses between tasks, act like those cooling periods. They consolidate gains, temper stress, and fortify neural pathways for clarity. Schedule micro-pauses. A 10-second breathing space after every email, a 1-minute silent walk between meetings, a deliberate blink when you feel overwhelmed building. Each pause hardens your ability to return to focus. Underpinning all these strategies is one principle: compassion for yourself. Henry Ford famously said, "Whether you believe you can do a thing or not, you are right." If you approach your mind with harsh judgment, "Why can't I focus?" you undermine your own efforts. Instead, speak to yourself as you would to a dear friend. When you falter, cradle your frustration with curiosity. What am I learning right now? When you succeed, celebrate even the smallest victory. I showed up, I paused, I refocused. That gentle encouragement rewires your brain to seek clarity rather than recoil from chaos. Now, sense the torch in that amphitheater of your mind, glimmering ever brighter. You've explored advanced strategies. Purpose to fuel you, presence to ground you, practice to sharpen you, connection to deepen you, silence to strengthen you, and compassion to sustain you. Yet every tool is only as powerful as when you choose to wield it. The test comes when you face an unexpected storm, an urgent deadline, a heated argument, a moment of self-doubt. That storm is your invitation to remember the tightrope walker, the cellist, the lighthouse keeper, and the gardener tending to their mental fences. Step into that moment not as a victim of circumstance, but as the architect of your focus. Think on this. Stand in that amphitheater, breathe, and feel the invitation. The world may clamor, but your mind can still compose its symphony. The way you arrange your surroundings can either echo the clamoring world or amplify your clarity. Picture your workspace as a canvas. Every element either contributes to the masterpiece or becomes a distracting smudge. Begin by decluttering. Remove stray papers, mute unnecessary notifications, and let only the tools you truly need remain. A single plant on your desk can breathe life into the space, reminding you of growth. A window view of sky or greenery invites the mind to expand beyond screens. Even the color of your coffee mug matters. Choose a shade that energizes rather than fatigues. Small environmental choices send powerful signals to your brain. This is a zone of focus. Digitally, you must become a curator of inputs. Unsubscribe from newsletters that no longer serve you. Organize your files so you're not hunting for a document in a morass of folders. Use apps that block social media during focus periods and trust them to do their job. For digital boundaries to work, you need to respect them as you would a closed door in your home. Every ping you ignore is a vote for your own priorities. As author Cal Newport teaches in Deep Work, cultivating this kind of digital discipline is akin to strengthening a mental muscle. The more often you resist temptation, the stronger your focus becomes. Sharing what you learn about clarity can multiply its impact, not only for you, but for your family, your team, your community. Imagine hosting a focus huddle at your office or a quiet circle at home. 10 minutes where phones lie face down, voices soften, and everyone simply names one intention for the next hour. Watch as collaboration deepens, as interruptions fade, and as collective energy rises. When people experience the power of shared stillness, they become ambassadors for clarity in their own spheres. Embrace rituals for endings as well as beginnings. The day's close is a chance to press reset. I recommend a brief reflection. Breathe deeply, close your eyes, and ask yourself, what did I learn today about presence? Where did my attention stray? What small success can I celebrate? Note your insights in a journal, then physically shut down your workstation. Click off the lights, tuck away your notebook, and let your mind rest. This boundary between work and rest signals to your nervous system that completion has arrived, and it's time for renewal. As you weave these practices into your life, remember that clarity is not a constant state, but a skill, one you refine with patience and persistence. Some days, your mind will feel like glass, perfectly transparent and responsive. Other days, it will tremble under the weight of storms. Those are the days your toolkit matters most. A centered inhale, a glance at your intention, a moment of mindful observation. These are the lifelines you'll cast to your own consciousness, pulling yourself back into harmony. In the end, your life is the ultimate demonstration of focus in action. Each decision you make, what to read, with whom to speak, how to spend your time, becomes a brushstroke on the canvas of your destiny. By choosing clarity, you choose to live deliberately, to create with purpose, and to lead with authenticity. The noise will never fully subside, but neither will your capacity to rise above it. So breathe now, friend. Feel the steady rhythm of your own symphony. Let every inhalation remind you that you are here, fully alive, capable of remarkable things. Let every exhalation release what no longer serves. And as you step back into the world's amphitheater, remember this truth. The most profound music emerges not from the absence of sound, but from the clarity with which you conduct your mind. Lead on, with presence, with purpose, with peace. And now it's your turn. Choose one intention, one ritual, one breath. Start today. Turn down the world's volume and raise your own. Share how you silence your noise in the comments. Hit like if this resonated. Subscribe to keep building your world of clarity. And share this video with anyone who could use a moment of focus. Lead your mind, lead your life.